We have linked 4 previously unsolved historic homicides from the 1970s to a now deceased serial sexual offender. Further, the Alberta RCMP believe that this offender may be responsible for more unsolved homicides and sexual assaults in Western Canada. In 1976, Eva Dvorak and Patricia McQueen, Patsy as she preferred, were both 14, living in Calgary, attending junior high. On the late evening of February 14, 1976, Eva and Patsy were last seen walking together in downtown Calgary. The following day, at approximately 10:40 a.m., their bodies were found laying on the road underneath the Happy Valley overpass on Highway 1, west of Calgary. In the spring of 1976, 20-year-old Melissa Rehorek moved to Calgary from Ontario with the hope of new opportunities. Melissa was last seen on the evening of September 15, 1976, by a roommate. She had intended on hitchhiking out of the city during her days off. The following day, at approximately 10:50 a.m., her body was located in the ditch on what is now known as Township Road 252, approximately 22 kilometers west of Calgary. In 1977, Barbara MacLean was a 19-year-old Calgary resident. Originally from Nova Scotia, Barbara had moved to Calgary only 6 months prior and was working at a local bank. On February 25, 1977, Barbara attended the Highlander Hotel Bar in Calgary with friends, and she was last seen walking alone away from the hotel in the early morning hours of February 26. Approximately 6 hours later, Barbara's body was discovered in the area of 6th Street and 80th Avenue Northeast, Calgary. At the time, this location was outside of the Calgary city limits. Autopsies were conducted on all 4 victims, and initially the medical examiner was unable to determine the cause of death for Eva Dvorak and Patsy McQueen. Consequently, their deaths were not ruled as homicides, but were investigated as suspicious deaths, though to be clear, these investigations were never closed. Both Melissa Rehorek and Barbara MacLean's cause of death was attributed to strangulation. Both of these deaths were investigated as homicides, and their files were never closed. RCMP investigators re-examined the exhibits that they had seized over 45 years ago, and they worked with the RCMP's National Forensic Laboratory Services and a private DNA company, Parabon Nanolabs, to develop a DNA profile that was, in turn, uploaded to the public domain DNA services, which allows for information sharing with law enforcement within their terms of service. Genealogists from Convergence Investigative Genetic Genealogy, contracted by the Calgary Police Service, were able to start building a family tree based on the DNA profile, while detectives from the Calgary Police Service Homicide Cold Case Unit were professionally tenacious in completing target testing to drive the genealogy portion to a conclusion. This is in and of itself an extensive process. When target testing was complete, Convergence IGG was able to provide a suspect hypothesis. For the first time, investigators finally had the name of a viable suspect, one that had never surfaced in the investigation before. However, the hypothesis still needed to be confirmed. Analytical queries confirmed the suspect's connection to Canada and that he had a criminal record of committing violent acts upon women. During this same time, crime scene evidence was resubmitted to the RCMP Forensic Lab from the Dvorak and McQueen investigation. The same unknown male DNA profile was identified on both victims, and it was confirmed that this DNA profile also matched the male DNA located in the Melissa and Barbara's murders. In light of this new information, the RCMP believes that the same male offender was responsible for the deaths of all 4 victims, and that Eva and Patsy had in fact been murdered. The RCMP, using the information provided through the genetic genealogy process, began a cross-border investigation into a United States citizen, Gary Allen Srery, born in 1942. It was quickly learned that Srery died of natural causes in an Idaho state prison in 2011 while serving a life sentence for sexual assault. With assistance from Interpol and the Idaho State Police Forensic Services, Srery's DNA was confirmed as a match to the unknown male DNA profile present on all 4 of our young victims. Due to forensic evidence, witness statements, and similar fact evidence, the Alberta RCMP believe that Gary Allen Srery is responsible for the murders of Patsy McQueen, Eva Dvorak, Melissa Rehorek, and Barbara MacLean. Were Srery alive today, he would be 81 years old and would be charged with the following offenses: 2 counts of non-capital murder on Eva Dvorak and Patricia McQueen, and 1 count of first-degree murder on Melissa Rehorek, and 1 count on Barbara MacLean. These different charges reflect changes to the criminal code in the 1970s.